Hey guys, it's Jenna. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm excited to share with you a vlog style book review of It by Stephen King. This monstrous book has completely taken over my life the past 5 days, and I just wanted to share with you my thoughts on it. So I originally wanted to start this a lot earlier, back when I first started the book. I started the book on October 4th. It is now October 9th, and I am pretty much exactly halfway through. I'm almost 600 pages through, and so that means I pretty much plowed through the first half of this ginormous book within 5 days, which is insane for me. I'm reading this book at an insane rate, and I think one reason for that is I'm not only reading the physical copy of the book, but I'm also listening to it on audio every single chance I get. So I think that's one of the reasons why I'm just going through it so fast. Another reason is that I'm finding that the writing is extremely approachable. For some reason, I was not only intimidated by the size of this book, but I just picture Stephen King's writing to be something unattainable for some reason. I don't know. I've only ever read one book by him, and that was The Green Mile, and I remember that being really easy to get through, so I don't know why I felt like I would be intimidated by his writing. I'm not intimidated by it. It's really quick to get through. And another reason why I'm just reading it so fast is because I love it. It's fantastic. I mentioned on Goodreads a couple days ago that I haven't felt this enthralled by a book in a really long time, and I've read some good books this year, but I haven't felt so consumed by a story ever. Maybe I don't know. It has its issues, it has its problems, and I know of one in particular. I know what's coming at the end. I've watched a lot of spoilery reviews, so I feel like I know what's going to happen in a lot of things, but it's not going to stop me from reading it. I really just want to see it. And you know what I'm talking about, that scene. You know what I'm talking about. I know that's going to happen, and I don't know how I'm going to react to it, knowing that it's coming. But, I don't know, part of me thinks that I'm just gonna, pretend that it doesn't exist, pretend that it's not there, and just read the story, pretending that it's not there at all. But, another part of me is curious to see, how it fits into the rest of the story, in context. So, anyway. I feel like I'm rambling. I have a lot of feelings about this book, so I figured I would do a vlog style book review. And again, going back to the original point of this clip was to say that I wanted to start this book review a little bit earlier, but I've just been reading it so fast, and I've just been enjoying it. Instead of focusing on how I could analyze it or how I could break it down for you in a review. So now that I feel like I'm going to slow down a little bit and try to collect my thoughts and share it with you guys in a series of clips, which will make up this review. So I hope you enjoy it, and we will see how the rest of this experience goes. I'm really, really excited. It's fantastic so far. Hey guys, just a quick update on It. You can see it in the background. I am about 850 something pages through, so 70 something % of the way done. Still have a little ways to go, and I'm still liking it. I can tell that the suspense is building up a little bit more. Things are getting a little bit more tense. The stakes are getting a little higher. And one thing that I realized today, as I was driving home from work listening to the audiobook, is that I have read 850 or so pages of this book, and never have I once felt like I was bored. So I feel as if, so far, Stephen King has done an amazing job with keeping his readers interested in the story throughout the entire way through. There are a lot of details. So if you are somebody who does not like to get bogged down with super just detailed descriptions of the setting and the characters, this probably is not the book for you. If you are an impatient reader, which I can be sometimes, I will say that. I don't know if you would enjoy this. It's extremely drawn out and obviously very long. And I also wanted to mention the character of Beverly. I have gone back and forth on the way that she's written throughout the entire time that I've been reading this book. At first, I did not like the way that she was being written. It felt as if just because she was the only female in the group, she was hyper-sexualized, even when you have descriptions of her being 11 years old. So for instance, there was a scene where, I'm just going to say the bathroom scene with her, and she's described as leaning over the sink. She's getting goosebumps and her hair is standing on end, and this is an 11-year-old child, but there's a description of her nipples getting hard, and I did not think that was necessary. I mean, I wouldn't have. An 11-year-old girl is not going to notice that her breasts are getting hard in a moment of fear. Like, why would she wouldn't think about that herself, so why are we talking about it? And she's also 11 years old. Why are we talking about that? I did not like that one specific sentence. And also, she is seen as like this angel through the eyes of all the other boys in the group. She's just seen as like this perfect angel, and she's gorgeous and whatnot. And that's mostly what they think about when they think about her. So, but then again, she can be super, super badass and super strong at the same time. So I go back and forth on Beverly. Sometimes I feel like she's written just kind of pathetically. Like, I don't think she's pathetic, but the way that other people are seeing her and the way that she's being narrated is kind of pathetic, in my opinion. But not all the time, so I don't know. I still have a little ways to go, but that's just my update for now. It is Thursday, October 12th. So it's been 7? No. Yeah, it's been 8. It's been 8 days. I can do math. It's been 8 days since I started this book, and I am about 75% of the way through. So, chugging right along. Hey guys, so I just wanted to film another clip talking to you about my feelings about It by Stephen King. It is late in October now. It is now October 25th. Just got home from work. That's why my face might be a little shiny and my hair is kind of windblown. But I just wanted to sit down, film another clip to kind of wrap up this reading vlog of my experience with it. So I finished it on October, I can't remember the date. It was like October 17th or something like that. I'll put it right down here if you even care. But it basically took me about 2 weeks to get through, a little over 2 weeks, I think. I kind of slowed down there towards the end because I wanted to really take it in instead of trying to rush through it, even though I really wanted to rush through it. This book it's hard to describe, and it's also hard to describe my feelings about it. I ended up giving this book 5 stars, and you've seen this already if you follow me on Goodreads, and I gave a little mini paragraph of my feelings about it, but basically I gave it 5 out of 5 stars because I thought it was a masterpiece. And I feel like I don't have the authority to say this because I don't read horror hardly ever. I think this would be like my second horror, like official horror book ever. I've read some books that were a little bit creepy before. I've read some thrillers, but this was one of the most intense books I've ever read, if not the most intense book. There was just so much going on. But essentially, it's about this group of kids who find each other through their pain, and they end up just really connecting with each other and bonding over this monster that is just terrorizing them and the people that they know, and just terrorizing this town of Derry, Maine, which is a fictional town. And it really tells the story of Derry and how it just has kind of taken over the minds of the people in this town. It's kind of like an infection that has just made its way through the entire town and all the nooks and crannies. And it just tells the story of Derry, focusing on the Losers Club specifically. But I just had an amazing time reading this. I definitely experienced some scenes where I was legitimately scared, and whenever I would put the book down for the day after reading those scenes, I would kind of be just like looking around. And normally books don't really get to me. I'm much more of a visual person. That's why I don't do scary movies, because if I have that visual in my head, I'm just like, ugh. Now, the It movie wasn't too bad for me for some reason. I think it's just because I'm just not scared of clowns. And even like creepy ones, they just don't creep me out that much. Anyway, I want to talk about the movie in a bit, but I don't know if I would say that I loved this book, because it's kind of hard to love some of the things that are in this book, but I loved reading it, if that makes any sense. So I gave it 5 stars, not because it's like one of my favorite books ever and that I adore everything about it and yada yada. I gave it 5 stars because I think it was just it was masterful storytelling, in my opinion. Now, this is only my second Stephen King book, but I don't even remember reading the other book. I've read The Green Mile before as well, and I don't even remember how I felt about it, other than I enjoyed it because I love the movie so much. But I think because of it, I will definitely be reading more Stephen King in the future. If you have any suggestions for me, please let me know in the comments. I'm thinking of going with Salem's Lot next, because it's about vampires, and vampires are one of my bookish buzzwords. So I definitely want to read Salem's Lot, but let me know if there's another book by King that you think I should read first. But I feel like I'm rambling, but it's just hard to wrangle my thoughts when it comes to it. And if you've read it, I think you would understand. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend this for everybody. You are going to have to be in the mood for an investment, investment of your time, and it might do some weird things to your mind, as in like it just might get you down. And that's another reason why I don't read horror that often, is just because even though I don't get affected by it in terms of getting really, really scared, just the images that horror books portray and the scenes that they describe really stay with me. And if I'm consuming a lot of that, it just really gets me down, and I don't know, it just makes me feel weird sometimes. So that's why I always try to break it up with just lighter or fluffier books. But yeah, in summary, I definitely liked it. I would probably say that I loved it. But it's just hard. I feel like I'm getting nowhere in this clip. But I really liked reading it. I loved the experience that it put me through. And I would definitely recommend the audiobook, read by Steven Weber. It was like 44 hours long. And oh my goodness, I listened to this audiobook whenever I could. So when I was getting ready in the morning, on my lunch break, on my way home, or my way to work, lunch break, home from work, like getting ready for bed, and I would just listen to it all the time because I was just so in it. It's just an immersive book to read and listen to. So I would definitely recommend the audiobook. And yeah, so those are my general thoughts. I do want to get into some more spoilery things now. So if you have not read the book, and you don't want to know anything that might spoil you, I would suggest you stop watching now. Okay, I'm back. I've got the phone balanced on the couch so it's not as wobbly. So yeah, now for some spoilery thoughts. And okay, let's just talk about the scene, like with a capital S. You know what I'm talking about, towards the end with the kids, basically the child orgy scene. I heard so many negative opinions about the ending of this book because of that scene, so I went into it like I had heard about the scene before I started reading the book. So I was kind of spoiled for it, sort of, but I didn't really mind. But knowing that going into it, it made me hesitate to even pick it up in the first place, because it's like, is that even a thing in a book ever? And do I want to support that by buying the book? But in the end, I was so intrigued by the story and the characters from the new movie that I watched, which I loved, that I immediately wanted to pick up the book. And I did, and I just told myself that I would go into the book open-minded, even when like thinking about that scene in particular. So I did, and I read it. And I do agree with practically everyone else that the scene felt very out of place and out of character for these kids. I don't think, it's hard to describe a scene like this, because it's like, how on earth do you support it? Like, it was disgusting and weird and strange. The way that he wrote it, though, like, he made it almost make sense, but at the same time, I hated it and didn't want it, and I felt it was out of place. So I think, like, the way that he wrote it, he made it seem like, oh, it's beautiful, and it's their way of transitioning, and it's their way of, like, wishing their way out of the tunnels or whatever. But I'm just like, these kids wouldn't do that. And also, they're 11 years old, I think, right? So it seems to me like every kid is different, but these kids are still pre-puberty, and like, yeah, they might have urges or something. I don't know. It just felt very weird. Very, very weird. And I almost wanted to just like skip the entire scene and pretend like it didn't happen. But I couldn't bring myself to do that, because I really just wanted to see what it was like in context. So I read it. Did I like it? No. I was literally reading the book like this. Like, this was my face when I was reading it. And I don't know. I definitely did not like that part. And I also wanted to bring back up the point that I made earlier on in the video, where I was talking about how I didn't like the way that Beverly was treated, or didn't like the way she was described, and how she was portrayed as being like this perfect angel and just the love interest of all of these boys. And it's just like she became like the typical only girl in the group that everybody's in love with. And granted, this book was written in 86, I believe, 85, one of those. So like, it's older, and there's a lot of, I don't know, like, we're becoming nowadays more aware of how females are being treated in books, movies and TV shows and things like that. So this came from a time when like that really wasn't as big of an issue, and I get that. But then, and I don't know, she was portrayed really, really like as a really cool character at times, but then other times I just got really frustrated. So that was another point that I wanted to bring up that I was kind of frustrated by. And then, of course, the orgy scene. And then it got a little bit strange for me when it came to what it really was, and when he was talking about the turtle and the macroverse and all that stuff. It was just kind of like, it sort of came out of nowhere. I mean, there were little hints of the turtle throughout the beginning of the book, and I already knew about it, like, going into it, so it's hard for me to, like, digest it as a person who just read it for the first time, because I knew all these things beforehand. So that got a little strange for me, a little trippy, if I'm being honest. And yeah, but overall, I liked it so much that I wanted to give it 5 stars. So I hope that all of the thoughts that I brought up in this video make sense to you guys. And if you have anything to add, I would love to discuss it down below. Yeah, I feel like this whole video was just really like long and rambly, but that was kind of the book. It was really long and rambly. There was just so many descriptions of this town and these people, and it was just really an immersive experience. And I think I would like to reread it again one day in the far future, probably. But when I reread it, I think I want to savor it a little bit more, because I went through it pretty fast. I mean, I read this book in about 2 weeks, which it's like over 1,200 pages, so it's a lot of pages. Yeah, I would like to reread it again, probably take it slower next time just to really savor it and take it in and catch all the little details that I might have missed as I was like rushing through it at times. But yeah, overall, I loved the book. Definitely one of the best books that I've read this year, even though it has its faults. But hey, we can like things and still acknowledge their faults. And in a way, it's hard to say if it's even a fault of the book. It's just the story that he chose to tell. So it's interesting. It's controversial to some people, but I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts down below. And if you've read it, like what your first impression of it was, and if you read it not knowing all the crazy things that happen, like going into it, or if you read it like me, knowing that there were some weird things that were going to happen, if that makes sense. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end this here because I know it's going to be really long, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know if you've read it so we can talk about it. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and click subscribe if you haven't already if you want to see me talk about more books. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye.